In the history of motorsport, there are two kinds of cheating. There is the sloppy kind. The kind where a mechanic hides a nitrous bottle under the seat, or shaves a few pounds off the chassis hoping nobody notices the scale is off. That's the cheating of amateurs. It's desperate. It's loud, and it almost always gets caught. There is the other kind, the beautiful kind. The kind of cheating that is so complex, so elegant, and so technically brilliant that when the governing bodies finally find it, they don't arrest you, they applaud you. To understand the crime, you have to understand the law. In the 1980s, rally was a blood sport. The Group B era was defined by unlimited boost, paper-thin chassis, and engines pushing 600, maybe 700 horsepower. It was glorious, but it was also lethal. After the tragic deaths, the FIA stepped in. They killed the monsters. They banned Group B. They introduced Group A. The new rules were designed to do one thing: suffocate the cars, and their weapon of choice was the turbo restrictor plate. By 1995, this was a massive problem for Toyota. See, Subaru and Mitsubishi had smaller, lighter cars. The Impreza was nimble. The Lancer Evo was a scalpel. But Toyota, they had just launched the ST205 Celica. It was a technological marvel, yes, but it had a fatal flaw. It was fat. The ST205 was heavy. It was complex. In a restricted class, where everyone is capped at 300 horsepower, weight is the enemy. If you have the same power as the Subaru, but you're dragging an extra 100 kilograms of luxury steel, you lose, period. The engineers at TTE were panicking. They couldn't make the car lighter. The homologation rules forbade it. So they looked at that 34-meter restrictor plate, the straw that the FIA forced down their throat. And someone in that room asked a dangerous question. What if the restrictor was there, but it wasn't? This is where the story turns from engineering to espionage. The rule was simple. All air entering the engine must pass through a 34-meter restrictor. The FIA inspectors would check this with a physical gauge. They would slide a metal disc into the intake. If it fit, you were legal. If it was loose, you were banned. It was a static test. Toyota's solution was to build a device that changed shape. They designed a restrictor plate that was housed in a special, spring-loaded sleeve. To the naked eye, and to the FIA's measuring tools, it looked solid. It felt solid. But it relied on Belleville washers. These are conical springs that offer immense resistance up to a specific pressure point. Here is the genius. When the car was racing, and the turbo began to spool the immense vacuum pressure, the engine sucking in air would pull on the restrictor assembly. Once the car hit a certain load, the Belleville washers would collapse. The entire restrictor assembly would slide backward by about 5 millimeters. And when it slid back, it opened up a secondary hidden channel, a bypass valve. Suddenly, the engine wasn't breathing through a 34-meter straw anymore. It was gulping air around the sides of the restrictor. It was bypassing the law. This allowed roughly 25% more airflow into the combustion chamber. In terms of numbers, we're talking about an extra 50 horsepower. In a world where teams fought for 5 horsepower, 50 was a nuclear bomb. But more importantly, it brought back the torque. It eliminated the turbo lag that the restrictor caused. While the Subaru drivers were waiting for their turbos to spool up out of a hairpin turn, the Toyota driver put his foot down and the car simply vanished. The brilliance wasn't just the slide, it was the return. The moment the driver lifted off the throttle, the vacuum pressure dropped. The springs instantly snapped the restrictor back into its original position. By the time the car rolled into the pit lane for inspection, the evidence had literally locked itself away. The restrictor was rigid. The bypass was sealed. The cheat was invisible. The 1995 season began, and strange things started happening. On paper, the Toyota Celica should have been slow. It was physically too heavy. But on the stages, it was a rocket ship. Juha Kankkunen and Didier Auriol were putting down sector times that didn't make sense. On the straightaways, the Celica was pulling away from the lighter Subarus. Rival teams, ProDrive, who ran Subaru, and Rally Art, Mitsubishi, started to get suspicious. They had the telemetry. They knew the drag coefficient of the Celica. They knew the weight. The math said the Toyota should be doing 80 kilometers per hour on the straight, but the radar gun said 195. Where was the power coming from? Whispers started in the paddock. Was it special fuel? Was it illegal gearing? Nobody suspected the turbo. Why would they? The FIA inspected the turbos constantly. They were sealed components. To tamper with the restrictor was considered impossible because the design was so simple. Toyota relied on the arrogance of the regulators. They bet that the FIA would never look for a moving part inside a static seal. But all lies have an expiration date. It all came crashing down in Spain. Rally Catalunya. The battle for the championship was razor thin between Colin McRae, Subaru, and the Toyota drivers. The FIA technical delegate at the time was a man named Gabriel Kadringer. He wasn't just a rule enforcer, he was an engineer. During a routine post-race check, Kadringer noticed something odd. There was a tiny hairline fracture on the turbo housing, a wear mark. It looked like metal had been rubbing against metal where it shouldn't be. Why would a static restrictor leave a friction mark? He decided to go deeper. He didn't just measure the diameter, he took the assembly apart. He applied pressure to the restrictor from the inside, and it moved. The spring compressed. The gap opened. The secret was out. The room went silent. This wasn't a slightly filed down piece of metal. This was a machined, industrial-grade mechanism designed solely for deception. The fallout was nuclear. The FIA didn't just disqualify Toyota from the race, they put them on trial. Max Mosley, the president of the FIA, looked at the device. He said, "Inside, it was the most ingenious thing I have ever seen in 30 years of motorsport." He continued, "It was beautifully made. The springs inside, the clips, so well made that not only did my scrutineers not see it, but admiration didn't mean mercy. The FIA dropped the hammer. Toyota, Team Europe was banned from the WRC for 12 months. All their points for the 1995 season were stripped. Didier Auriol and Juha Kankkunen, who had driven their hearts out, lost everything. But here's the irony. Toyota fought the establishment with a spring and a washer. Today, the 1995 Celica GT-Four is a pariah. It's the black sheep of the family. But in the underground world of engineering, that turbo restrictor is a holy grail. Because in the end, history doesn't remember the rule book. It remembers the ones who had the guts to burn it.